Welcome back everyone to yet another go-kart build video on the channel here, and the plan for the content in today's video is to prep and finish the brackets that I built for the bumpers in the past two videos. And what I mean by finish, I mean by clean them up a little bit with the wire brush on the drill and then paint them and get them all looking nice and pretty. And then also another thing I have to do is build the brackets for the center pod, steering column cover mount, whatever you want to call it. And so that's going to be another part of the video today. And I know in the past video I said that the next video after the second bracket build would be of the go-kart running, but my buddy Matt, who is helping me in those two videos, is out of town today, and he wanted to be here when the go-kart ran again for the first time. So he's helped me out a lot on this build, and I feel that it would be nice to wait and have him be here for when it runs for the first time so he can see it and drive it, because he too has also put a lot of time in helping me along with this entire build process. So before we get into the action, I'm going to take you over to the go-kart and kind of give you a quick briefing of some of the stuff that will be going on in the video today. Okay, so we got the go-kart here in its normal spot, up on the jack stands, because the wheels aren't technically mounted yet, so I don't want it to have to sit all funky. But yeah, so as you can see here, there's kind of been some surface rust buildup just from the steel sitting out in the garage here with, you know, the moisture in the air. And so the first plan of attack is I've got a bunch of wire brushes for my drill, so these are nice. I got these from Harbor Freight. Came in a kit of, I believe, 4 or 5 different wire brushes, different sizes and different shapes. And so yeah, it's got a shank on it and just goes into the drill. So you just got to prep the surface, get some of the rust off, get some of the other welding slag off and stuff like that. And then the plan is to paint these. I got some good Rust-Oleum paint. So I bought some paint a while ago, but I found this paint. I had a little project that I was doing for one of my friends for a birthday present that I used some black paint, and I found this stuff, which is a paint and primer in one. So I was feeling a little lazy, so instead of using the normal spray paint where you have to prime it first, then paint and then clear coat, I just bought another can of that, of what I had left over, so I can just paint it and prime it at the same time and then just clear coat it, and it'll take away one extra step. So that'll be nice. So yeah, so paint those, and what I think I'm going to do is, because one of the problems I've had when painting a lot of pieces in the past is, you know, you paint one side and then you have to wait to flip it over until it dries, and then when you flip it over, if it isn't perfectly dry, then whatever surface it's resting on, it messes up that part of the paint finish. And so what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to somehow hook up the brackets here to like a nail or a bolt, and I'll just kind of hook it through these holes, and then I'll hang it from like a tree in my backyard, and paint it as it's hanging, like a lot of paint shops do in paint booths, because that'll allow me to kind of paint it all at once, so I don't have to wait for the sides to finish. And that way, when I'm in the backyard, yeah, it might be a little windy, but I won't get any overspray on any of the ground or any of items in the garage here. So that is the plan. And then the center pod, like I kind of mentioned in past videos, this was just kind of sitting there like that. It's not actually mounted. So the next part of this video today, after painting these guys and prepping them, is going to be building the brackets for this. So what I got for these brackets, they're just like these, I can't remember what they're called, strong ties. So this is like if you're building a house or something with wood, you usually buy some of these brackets to hold pieces of wood together, different pieces of wood. And so why I got this is because it's very thin, and that center pod maybe weighs a pound or two, if that. So these don't have to be very thick at all, and the reason why I got this is because I'll just take this here, and you'll see in the later part of the video, but what I'm going to do is bend it and then give it kind of like a curvature, and then drill some holes, 2 holes through here, and then I'm going to make another one for down here with some other ones I bought. So this stuff is just nice and easy. I believe it's galvanized, and I'll probably end up painting this also black. So that is the plan of attack for today's video. So without further ado, I will stop talking and get right into the action of getting all of these tasks finished. Alright, so first order of business, I got to take all of the bumpers off that have kind of been temporarily mounted. So I just got a normal wrench here and a socket with a 12mm head on it, and luckily for the most part, it is, all of the bolts here are the same size. So that is one piece of advice I recommend to anyone building a go-kart, is try and make as many of the bolts as the same size as you can, if it's possible. You're gonna have ones that need to be different sizes, but for the most part, if you can, make all your bolts the same size. So the bolt size that kind of has worked well for me over the entire build in different areas is 5/16. So that way I know exactly what wrench to get and what socket head to get, and it pretty much works for taking almost everything off of the go-kart. So tip of advice there. So let's go ahead and get started. I'll just kind of time lapse this a little bit because it's kind of just me tediously taking off 12 bolts. Okay, so just got the last side cut off, so now the go-kart looks like its old naked self. Man, after I took these off, seeing it without the bumpers, I can't see it any other way now without them on. I mean, it looks so much better with them on. It looks like an actual legit go-kart. I mean, like, yeah, it looks like a go-kart now, but it looks like a serious go-kart that you would maybe buy from, a vendor that's already pre-built. So definitely recommend bumpers like this to anyone who's considering a build or currently doing a build, because it really just enhances the whole aesthetics of the entire look of the go-kart. So yeah, so now the process is to just take all the brackets off, and then we'll get into the prep stage. Okay, now that all the bumpers and brackets are dismantled, I'm going to get into the prep process with the wire brush. Felt that it was necessary to upgrade my foot attire from flip-flops to legitimate shoes, so I don't burn my toes off, or however you want to call it. But I'm going to use my wireless drill just to make things easier on myself. Hopefully the battery is still charged enough. Should be good to go. Now I'm going to go ahead and prep these guys, put some safety goggles on, because the one thing that I learned that you definitely want to have with wire brush is either safety goggles and or a face mask, especially if you're using it on a grinder. A drill doesn't spin as fast as a grinder does. A drill doesn't spin as fast as a grinder does, but because the grinder will fling off the wire bristles at unbelievable speeds. When I was using it before to prep the frame of the go-kart, and I was using the grinder to prep the frame, I literally had wire brush bristles stuck into my arm and my shirt, because they would fly off at such high speeds. And one of the worst pains, I think, was when they hit my face. So I bought a little cheap face mask from Harbor Freight to shield my face, but I think I'll be okay with the drill here. So I'll go ahead and start prepping these guys for painting now. finally done. I think I'm stuck in this position now. My back is... Oh. So yeah, so I finished grinding everything, or not grinding, but wire brushing everything. So now everything looks nice and pretty, and it's all shiny again, no more rust. So I'm gonna go ahead and work on putting some sort of nail or something in the hole here so I can suspend it from the tree to paint it all at one time. Alright, so now that the things have all been prepped in terms of the wire brush, now I'm making a little rigging system to hang these guys by. So what I'm basically doing is just taking an ordinary nail and then bending it on my vise, and then wrapping some of this wire that you used to hang like picture frames with, and then that way I can just paint this guy all at once and I won't have to worry about it because it's not really touching the surface here. What I was going to do is just tie a string through these holes, but then you'll have that section where paint won't cover. So this way, with this nail not like perfectly, you can see it kind of comes away from the surface there. You can get paint in there and just do it all at once, not having to worry about the paint not covering the area. So then I'm just going to end up hanging that from a tree. So now what I'm doing is I'm just taking some more wire and 2 more nails for the other 2 pieces that I'm gonna paint. Okay, so I'm all set up here in my backyard. So basically what I did was I found a tree in my backyard that was nice, and luckily this tree is kind of slanted, so it made for a good spot for these. So basically I just nailed 3 nails into the tree and then took the wire that was attached to those pieces and hung these guys, and then obviously I protected the tree a little bit to try and prevent overspray from coating the tree black. So now I got some rubbing alcohol and I'm just going to try and lightly wipe the surface of these guys before I actually start applying paint. Okay, so I gave all the pieces a good wipe down with some rubbing alcohol just to kind of prep the surface because it was a little dirty. You know, after using the grinding wheel, you can see on the towel here, it's always a good idea. Ideally, you want to use mineral spirits because they do the best job at cleaning and it evaporates off pretty quickly, but I don't have any, so rubbing alcohol, it cleans pretty well and it evaporates pretty quickly, so that's what I used instead. So I just want to make sure the surface is dry to the touch before I start applying paint, and it seems like it is because I didn't use a whole lot. You don't want to flood the surface here with rubbing alcohol because then it might not dry completely when you start painting, and then you got a big mess. So I'm going to go ahead and start applying the first coat. What's up everyone, welcome back to day number 2 of this little mini task series for this part of the go-kart with the bumper brackets being painted and me making the steering column mount here. So I ran out of time yesterday just because I had a place to be, and then so I stopped and I'm resuming today to finish up the work that I didn't finish yesterday. So I'll fill you guys in on what I was doing before I had to set everything aside for the day and then catch you guys up. So I basically put on 2 to 3 coats on the bumper brackets, and I was about to put on the clear coat and I started applying it on one of the pieces, as you'll see, and something really weird happened with the clear coat and I don't know why. I'm not like the most experienced person with painting with spray paint and stuff like that. So I'll show you guys what happened, and maybe some of you who have some experience with spray paint and just paint in general might be able to give me some insight for the future. So I'll show you guys what I was doing with the steering column now. So as you can see here, I kind of have the top piece mocked up here. So what I did yesterday was I drilled 2 holes through the steering column vertical stab piece there, and then coordinated that with the holes on this bracket. And it looks bad right now because it's not secured down, and these aren't even the bolts for it. I was just using some temporary bolts, but after everything's said and done, when the bolts squeeze this part together, that's what it's going to look like. So it's pretty symmetrical for being hand shaped and everything. So what I'm going to do is I bought another one of those like strap tie down things, and I'm just going to duplicate it to give it a little more strength because those things are pretty thin. So then I can just wrap it around over top, or actually I'll put it probably on the inside of it, and then I'll paint that. And then the other thing I have to do is make the one for the bottom, and then what I'm going to do is use these existing holes here with these bolts, and then just make one more hole here and here, and then bend the bottom plate in such a way, and then also drill the hole through that and drill the hole through the actual piece so that I can then mount it with some bolts. So I'm going to go ahead and take you guys back and show you what I was talking about with the paint and stuff. Okay, so here's one of the pieces. It's kind of hard to see because we're in the shade back here, but I'm trying to get some good lighting. But you can kind of see the surface there, and it used to not be like that before I applied the clear coat, and it pretty much did that on every part of the bracket here where I hit it with the clear coat. So I know it's not just some imperfection on the surface that this clear coat is having a hard time adhering to. It's like on every part of this bumper bracket. So some of you can comment why that might have happened. That would be fantastic, so I don't make this stupid mistake in the future and ruin my perfectly good looking bumper bracket with the black paint that looks so good yesterday. So what I'm trying to do is just cover it with some more black. I don't know if that's going to work or not, but kind of pissed off that it ruined the surface just from shooting normal clear coat, and I've used this clear coat before, so oh well, the joys of painting. Okay, so what I tried to do here was take the original bracket I made and then clamp it such that it'll stay in place while I mark the holes for the other one. Now you'll see that it's not perfectly lined up because the outside one has to cover a greater distance than the inside one, so I just tried to make the gap even on both ends there. So now what I'm going to do is take the Sharpie, mark the holes that I had drilled yesterday on the sides and the top here, and then drill those out, and we should be good to go. And then I'm going to paint this black, and then I'll get to making the one for the front part. What's up, guys? Another update. So it's a little bit later on. It's on Sunday. The video I took yesterday was Saturday. So I had some things I had to do yesterday because I'm quite busy this summer with this internship that I'm doing. I got a really cool internship for engineering this summer. So there'll be days where I have a lot of time, and then days where I kind of have to split up my time among different days to do stuff. So that was kind of how this weekend went. So before I end this video, I'm gonna catch you guys up on how these things went and where I got with the bracket system for the center pod mount, and then kind of just fill you in on what to expect for the next video and things like that. Okay, so here is one of the 3 brackets. You can see it's out of focus, but this one here and then that one there, they're all hanging from kind of this rafter here in the garage when they were drying. But I was really pissed off because like I mentioned earlier, I sprayed on that clear coat and it really screwed up the paint surface. I have no idea why. Like I said earlier, I'm not some expert painter, so I don't know if the clear coat wasn't, if, you know, I don't know what happened. The clear coat didn't bind right or something, but you can see here, it like gave this wrinkly finish in the paint on a lot of the pieces on here. A lot of the pieces that'll be visible too, not just parts that are going to be underneath or covered up. So I'm thinking what I'm going to do is I'm going to sand down the parts that got messed up when I have some more time, and then repaint those parts black. It's not a huge deal, but like, you know, I just did this and I kind of want it to be at least a little better than how it ended up being. So I don't know why. I just used normal Rust-Oleum black paint and primer in one, and then Rust-Oleum crystal clear clear coat enamel. So if any of you guys out there that have a lot of spray paint experience, and you know that I did something wrong, or can tell me why this might have happened, I would really appreciate it for future parts and projects that I'll be working on with spray paint. So that's really the situation for these guys. So they're just kind of hanging here. They're completely dry now, but I'm just going to take some fine sandpaper because it's really in the top layer. There's probably about 3 coats of paint on here, so this is really in the top layer. So I'm just going to take some fine sandpaper, sand that down, and then respray it all again. And also, one thing I noticed is when the can started to get empty, it kind of started just giving a fine, I don't even know how to describe it, but it wasn't spraying very well, and so instead of being a smooth finish, it kind of feels rough. And it's like because it wasn't spraying enough, so it was only spraying out, you know, not a full spray pattern. I don't even know how to describe it, but it's not a very smooth finish as if you were using a brand new can. So that's also a reason why to go back and redo these guys. But other than that, they turned out pretty good. Alrighty, so now onto the go-kart here. I apologize if the lighting isn't the greatest. So you can see kind of my workshop area is kind of a little bit of a mess. But so here we got the center pod mount. I just had that resting there. So I know in the past clip I talked about how I was going to use 2 of these brackets here for more rigidity, but it ended up being a real pain in the butt trying to get these things lined up, so I just ended up using 1. So I got this one's all finished, and I also finished this one down here. Funny thing is this one actually was the outer one for this one, and I just cut it and modified it to work for this bottom one here. So you can see I got the hole drilled in the top, hole drilled in the top. But one thing I noticed is if I just mounted it directly resting on the plates as they're sitting now, it'll kind of, the center pod thing will collide with your leg when you're sitting in the go-kart. So what I'm going to do is just get some bolts and have the bolts stick up, and then have the center pod mount, you know, maybe like 2 inches above where the brackets end. So that is how that turned out. So when I do that, I just got to get a few bolts to actually mount those in. I'm going to spray those also black so they don't stand out like they are now, so they'll be kind of more hidden, because it's kind of not the most pretty thing to be on there. But yeah, so that's the plan with those guys, and then that will conclude the bracket system so far. I have a really cool idea for the back here. I know a lot of you said in the previous comment section on the previous video to put this back bumper on, and I have a really cool idea that I'm going to announce in a little while after I do some other things. I have a really cool package in the mail that I will explain a little bit in the next video maybe. But yeah. So the package I ordered for these new parts, well, it's kind of just a single part. There's 2 pieces to it, but I don't want to give it away just because I like anticipation and the excitement building up to it to do like a surprise. But it'll make the go-kart a lot more fun to drive, I think, in my opinion, when it's running. And my goal is for the next go-kart build video, maybe after doing some sort of Q&A video, which I'll figure out how I'm going to do that. But then the go-kart build video after that will be the go-kart running. Like I said earlier, I just felt that Matt asked me if he could be here when it ran again, so he's helped me a lot, so I thought I'd wait for him and so he could be here and have fun with that also. So again, guys, thank you all very much for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you who take your time out of your day to watch these videos. I always appreciate all the comments I get and the awesome feedback about the build. As always, if you have any questions at all about this build, at any of the stages, current, past, future, feel free to leave them in the comment section below and I'll be happy to answer them for you. If you guys haven't already, definitely subscribe to the channel because there's going to be a lot more of these go-kart build videos to come, as well as a new series I'm putting together right now on how to build a go-kart from start to finish. And I think that's going to be really cool and really beneficial to a lot of people out there. So thank you all guys. It's late. Thank you guys again for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.